She wakes up before the world stirs, her body aching, her mind racing, and yet no one notices, no one cheers, no one says, "You've got this." Because her battle is silent. The world sees her as ordinary, maybe even invisible, but what it doesn't see is the storm she carries inside. Every step she takes feels like walking through fire, and every breath is a test of endurance. Have you ever wondered what it takes to keep moving forward when there's no one behind you? No hand to hold? No voice to encourage? No ally to remind you that you're enough? Imagine fighting for your dreams, for your dignity, for your very survival, while the rest of the world assumes you are doing just fine. This is the reality for millions of women, a quiet courage that goes unnoticed, a determination that refuses to bend, a strength that is forged in isolation. And yet, somehow, they keep going. Somehow they rise. Somehow, against all odds, they become unbreakable. Tonight, I want to take you inside that world. I want to show you what it truly means to fight when the odds are stacked, when no one is watching, and when giving up seems like the easier choice. Because what I am about to tell you is not just a story of struggle, it's a story of raw power, relentless resilience, and the kind of victory that comes only when you learn to fight for yourself. Are you ready to see what it takes to rise when there's no one standing beside you? Are you ready to witness the silent battle of a woman with no support? She wakes before the sun rises, long before the world begins its hum of movement, and already the day has begun for her. There is no alarm clock to interrupt her rest, no gentle nudge from a loved one, no hand to guide her through the chaos of morning. She wakes to responsibility, an unrelenting tide of expectations, chores, and obligations that demand her energy before she has even fully opened her eyes. The coffee is hers to make, the children hers to wake, the bills hers to face. Every little task, every tiny decision falls squarely on her shoulders. And yet, the world moves on, blind to the weight she carries. This is the silent battle. It is invisible to most eyes because she fights it alone. Nobody applauds her for making it through another sleepless night. Nobody notices when she sacrifices her dreams, her comfort, her peace, just to make sure that everyone else around her survives. She's surrounded by people, yet she is isolated, an island in a stormy sea. She carries responsibilities that would crush the average person, but she carries them quietly, methodically, without complaint. And over time, this quiet endurance becomes a second skin, one she wears so naturally that even she sometimes forgets just how extraordinary her resilience is. Imagine the countless moments of self-doubt, the evenings when she stares into the mirror and asks herself if she is enough, if she is doing enough, if she is worthy of love, recognition, and happiness. These questions do not fade just because she does not hear them aloud from anyone else. They echo inside her head like a drumbeat that never stops. Every decision she makes is scrutinized not by outsiders but by herself. Every misstep, no matter how small, feels monumental, and still, she keeps moving. She has no choice but to, because giving up is not an option. Her day is filled with constant multitasking, work deadlines that never end, household responsibilities that multiply, personal goals that quietly simmer on the back burner. Each task demands precision, energy, and focus, yet there is no one to share the load. She is her own support system. Her victories are quiet and fleeting like whispers in the wind. When she completes a task, no one cheers. When she achieves something monumental, it is met with polite acknowledgement, not awe. The world has normalized her struggle so thoroughly that what should be extraordinary is now seen as ordinary. And the exhaustion is not just physical, it is mental, emotional, and spiritual. Every decision, every confrontation, every moment of fear must be managed alone. There is no sounding board, no mentor, no partner to remind her that she is strong enough to overcome. Loneliness becomes a constant companion, sneaking in during the smallest moments, a quiet dinner, a long commute, a moment of self-reflection. The battle is not just about surviving the day, it is about surviving herself, the doubts, the insecurities, the moments of weakness that threaten to pull her under. Yet there is a fierce beauty in this struggle, though it is rarely acknowledged. In the absence of external support, she discovers something profound, a resilience that cannot be taught, a courage that cannot be borrowed, a determination that is entirely her own. Every obstacle she faces, every challenge she overcomes alone, strengthens her in ways the world cannot see. She becomes her own mentor, her own cheerleader, her own protector. The silent battle becomes a forge, And through its fire, she emerges tempered, unbreakable, and fierce. Her world is filled with contradictions. She is strong yet vulnerable, determined yet exhausted, independent yet longing for connection. Every triumph feels temporary because there is no one to witness it. Every failure feels permanent because she bears the weight of it alone. And yet, she endures. She endures not because it is easy, not because it is fair, but because she has no other choice. She endures because surrender is not an option when there are lives, dreams, and futures that depend on her. The silent battle is also a test of identity. Without external support, she must define herself on her own terms. She must choose who she is in the absence of guidance, praise, or affirmation. She must discover her values, her priorities, and her limits by herself. And in this, she finds clarity. In the quiet struggle, she finds a voice. In the solitude, she discovers her vision. The battle is silent, yes, but it is not meaningless. It shapes her into someone formidable. Someone who cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Someone who understands the depth of her own strength. And yet, the reality of this battle is often ignored. Society expects her to manage it all seamlessly, to smile through exhaustion, to juggle impossible expectations without complaint. Her struggle is minimized, dismissed, or romanticized. She's just strong, they say, unaware of the weight she carries. She always handles it, they whisper, as if her effort is invisible because it is constant. But this battle is not about appearances, it is about survival, about perseverance, about discovering the extraordinary power that lies dormant in every woman who fights alone. This is not a story of despair, it is a story of awakening. The reality of the silent battle is harsh, unrelenting, and isolating, but it is also a reality where strength is forged, where courage is cultivated, and where the impossible becomes possible. For every woman fighting in silence, every lonely warrior rising before dawn, every soul carrying the world on her shoulders without acknowledgement, the silent battle is real, it is brutal, and it is magnificent. Because in the end, what the world does not see is this: she is not just surviving, she is rising. She is building herself, moment by moment, choice by choice, until one day her quiet triumph becomes undeniable. And when that moment comes, there is no force on earth that can stop her. There is a truth few will ever tell you. Strength is not given, it is forged. And it is forged in fire, the fire of adversity, isolation, and struggle. For the woman with no support, strength is not optional, it is survival. When the world does not notice your effort, when no one cheers for your victories, when every obstacle feels like a mountain too high to climb, you learn to dig deep. You learn to rely on a power that cannot be borrowed, and cannot be stolen. You learn to become your own backbone. Adversity has a way of exposing the raw edges of your soul. It strips away pretense, comfort, and dependency. For a woman navigating life alone, adversity is constant. It waits at every turn, in every challenge, in every quiet moment where fatigue and doubt creep in. Bills pile up, deadlines loom, responsibilities multiply, dreams are deferred. And yet, she rises, again and again. There is no one holding her hand, no one offering reassurance, no one saying, "You are capable, you can do this." Every step forward is proof of courage, proof of grit, proof that the human spirit, when pressed, will not simply collapse, it will fight back. Inner strength does not arrive fully formed, it grows in the cracks, in the moments when you feel weakest, in the hours when giving up seems the only sensible choice. It is cultivated in silence, without applause, without recognition. Each time she confronts a fear she never thought she could face alone, she becomes stronger. Each time she makes a choice for herself instead of bending to expectation, she becomes wiser. Each time she absorbs a blow from life, only to rise and keep walking forward, she becomes unbreakable. This is not theory, it is lived experience, and it is the most authentic form of empowerment there is. The process is not glamorous. There are days when she questions herself, nights when tears fall in private, and moments when the weight of it all seems unbearable. But this is the crucible in which her power is forged. Adversity teaches her that dependence is fragile, that external validation is fleeting, and that the only true constant in life is her own resolve. Every challenge she meets alone is a lesson in resilience. Every setback becomes a stepping stone. Every moment of exhaustion is an opportunity to discover the depth of her own endurance. There is a unique kind of clarity that comes from facing life without support. When no one is there to carry your burdens, you are forced to confront the truth of who you are, who you want to be, and what you are capable of. You stop pretending that the world owes you assistance, recognition, or safety. You stop looking outward for validation. You stop waiting for permission. And in this confrontation with yourself, you discover a power that is entirely yours, a power that is not contingent on anyone else, not limited by circumstance, not diminished by the absence of applause. It is in adversity that she learns discipline, focus, and determination. The woman with no support must organize herself with precision, must plan, must anticipate, and must act without hesitation. She cannot rely on others to pick up slack, to offer advice, to correct mistakes. She becomes her own strategist, her own coach, her own advocate. And through this process, a remarkable confidence emerges, not the loud, brash confidence the world often expects, but a quiet, unshakable certainty. It is the confidence of someone who knows, in the deepest part of her being, that she will survive, that she will thrive, and that she will achieve what others might deem impossible. Adversity also teaches humility and empathy. When you face the world alone, you see the fragility of life and the struggles of others with more clarity. You develop compassion for those who fight battles invisible to the eye, and you understand that strength is not a gift, but a choice made every single day, often in silence. Every hardship she endures alone becomes a lesson not just in personal resilience, but in the capacity to uplift others when the time comes, to offer guidance, encouragement, or simply the understanding that comes from having walked a similar path. And here is the paradox. While adversity can crush, it also empowers. Every obstacle she overcomes alone leaves her stronger, sharper, and more capable than she could ever have imagined. Every time she rises after failure, every time she pushes past exhaustion, every time she refuses to be defined by circumstance, she transforms the struggle into strength. The very thing that the world sees as a disadvantage, the lack of support, the isolation, the relentless pressure, becomes her greatest teacher. It is adversity that molds her into a warrior of resilience, a master of her own destiny, a force that cannot be stopped because it has been tempered in the fires of solitude and hardship. No one can hand her this strength. No one can do the inner work for her. It is earned through persistence, through grit, through a refusal to surrender, even when surrender feels like relief. It is discovered in moments of quiet determination, in late nights when everyone else sleeps, in early mornings when the world is still dark and silent. It is found in the choice to stand up one more time, to fight one more battle, to keep moving forward when no one is watching. And in the end, this inner strength becomes unstoppable. The woman who has faced adversity alone carries a power that is invisible, unmeasurable, and undeniable. She becomes a testament to what humans are capable of when pushed to the limits. She does not wait for permission to shine. She does not wait for support to act. She does not wait for anyone to believe in her, because through adversity she has learned to believe in herself. Through adversity she has become unshakable. Through adversity she has become extraordinary. From the moment she steps into the world, she is judged, not by her actions alone, but by every expectation that society has quietly written across her life. There is a blueprint for how she should behave, how she should look, how she should speak, how she should love, and even how she should struggle. And when she deviates from this script, when she dares to carve her own path, the judgments come swiftly, sharply, and without mercy. The world whispers, it gossips, it criticizes, and it expects her to stay small, to conform, to apologize for daring to exist on her own terms. She learns early that life is not always fair, that courage can be met with contempt, and that resilience is often misunderstood. Every choice she makes is filtered through the lens of societal expectation. Choose to focus on your career, you are selfish. Choose to prioritize your family, you are weak. Decide to live independently, to chase your dreams, to speak your truth, you are audacious, ungrateful, rebellious. The weight of judgment is relentless, piling on silently, shaping thoughts, influencing decisions, and quietly testing her willpower. And yet she has no choice but to stand firm, because if she bends to every expectation, if she reshapes herself to fit the mold others have cast, she will lose herself entirely. She understands this truth with crystal clarity. Societal judgment is inevitable, but surrendering her authenticity is optional. She must learn to navigate a world where criticism is constant, where voices from every corner attempt to define her worth, and where support is not guaranteed. The ability to move forward despite this pressure is one of the most potent forms of inner strength she will ever cultivate. The criticism is not always loud. Sometimes it is subtle, a glance, a whisper, a dismissive comment meant to undermine confidence. It is the casual remark about her abilities, the assumption that she cannot handle responsibility, the insinuation that her worth is tied to how pleasing she is to others. These micro-judgments accumulate over time, like invisible chains designed to keep her constrained, hesitant, and small. But she learns to recognize them for what they are: distractions, tests, opportunities to rise above. She also faces expectations from those closest to her: family, friends, mentors, even colleagues. They mean well, or at least they believe they do, but well-meaning advice often masks limitations imposed by their own fears and beliefs. They suggest she compromise, conform, or settle. This is safer, they say. This is easier, they whisper. And yet, she understands that safety and ease are not synonymous with fulfillment. She cannot allow someone else's comfort to dictate the path of her life. Every step she takes against these expectations is a declaration: I will not be defined by you. I will not shrink to fit your vision of who I should be. The journey to overcome these pressures is not linear. There are moments of doubt, moments when she feels the weight of the world pressing down, moments when the judgments seem louder than her own voice. She struggles, she hesitates, she questions herself. But these moments do not define her, they refine her. Each judgment she faces becomes a mirror, reflecting not just society's limitations, but her own potential. Every expectation she resists strengthens her conviction. Every whispered critique she ignores sharpens her focus. There is also a profound loneliness in resisting societal expectations. When she chooses a path that others do not understand, she often walks it alone. Friends may drift away, family may criticize, and colleagues may gossip. She becomes accustomed to isolation, to the knowledge that her decisions may not be applauded, may not be validated, may not be understood, and yet she presses on. Because she knows something the world often forgets: true fulfillment is never dictated by approval. True strength is forged in alignment with your own truth, not in compliance with someone else's standards. She also learns to separate noise from wisdom. Not every judgment is harmful. Some criticisms are rooted in experience, in love, in perspective she has not yet seen. The skill lies in discerning what is guidance, what is constructive feedback, and what is simply the echo of society's biases. Over time, she masters this discernment, listening only to the voices that elevate her, that challenge her in ways that are meaningful, and that respect her autonomy. Everything else becomes background noise, static that cannot touch the fire burning within her. And through this process, something remarkable happens. The woman who once feared judgment now walks with defiance. The one who once sought approval now stands unshakable in her own truth. The woman who once hid her brilliance to fit in now shines without apology. Societal expectations no longer cage her, they fuel her. The world's skepticism becomes her training ground. The whispers of doubt become her soundtrack. And the impossibility of others' approval becomes her liberation. She learns not to fight the world, but to rise above it. She learns that the only validation she needs is her own. This is the paradox of overcoming societal judgment. The more you resist conforming, the stronger you become. The more you embrace your path, the more others' expectations lose their power. What was once a burden, a constant weight of criticism, expectation, and scrutiny, becomes a catalyst for self-mastery. She emerges not just surviving, but thriving. Not just meeting life's demands, but mastering them. And the quiet victory is more profound than applause, more lasting than recognition, and more empowering than anyone else's approval could ever be. In the end, societal judgment cannot touch the woman who knows herself. Expectations cannot bind the one who has discovered her inner compass. Criticism cannot diminish the soul that has chosen its own path. And the woman with no support, who once struggled to be seen, now stands visible to herself. And that visibility, that clarity, that mastery is the greatest victory of all. When life gives you no support, when every step feels heavier than the last, When the world does not pause to cheer your victories, one truth becomes undeniable: your mindset is everything. And discipline, your most loyal ally. Without them, the silent battles would be impossible to win. A woman with no support cannot rely on others to remind her to rise, to push, to persist. She cannot depend on validation to fuel her energy or motivation to carry her forward. Every day she must summon these forces from within. Every day she must be both the commander and the soldier of her own life. Mindset is not just thinking positively. It is far deeper than cliches or motivational phrases. It is the inner framework that determines how she responds to challenges, setbacks, and the constant pressure of solitude. When the world seems to conspire against her, mindset is the anchor that keeps her steady. It is the lens through which she views obstacles, not as insurmountable walls, but as opportunities to grow, to test herself, to prove her resilience. Every morning, when she faces fatigue, fear, or doubt, mindset decides whether she will rise or surrender. Discipline is the vehicle that transforms mindset into action. She may believe in herself, she may envision her goals, she may understand her potential, but without discipline, belief is just wishful thinking. Discipline is the daily practice of showing up when it hurts, when it's inconvenient, when every instinct screams for rest or escape. It is choosing progress over comfort. It is taking the small, relentless steps toward mastery, even when there is no immediate reward, no applause, and no acknowledgement. Discipline turns struggle into momentum, adversity into achievement, and isolation into empowerment. The reality is that life rarely grants favors. There is no formula for success handed out to the woman who fights alone. Her victories are not guaranteed by circumstance, talent, or luck. They are earned through relentless focus, through repetition, and through the cultivation of habits that reinforce strength, resilience, and excellence. Every decision she makes, how she spends her time, how she manages her energy, how she prioritizes her actions, must be deliberate. There is no room for procrastination, hesitation, or waiting for permission. Discipline becomes the armor that protects her from distraction, defeat, and doubt. There are moments when discipline feels unbearable, when the weight of responsibility is suffocating, when exhaustion seeps into her bones, and her mind whispers that she has reached her limit. It is in these moments that mindset must rise higher than fatigue, higher than fear, higher than the temptation to surrender. She must remind herself that strength is forged in the discomfort, that greatness is cultivated in the tension between desire and resistance, that perseverance is what separates those who survive from those who thrive. Every time she chooses to act despite discomfort, her inner fire grows stronger. This is why habits matter. Discipline is not about heroic moments alone. It is about the daily rituals, the small choices repeated relentlessly. It is waking up while the world sleeps to do the work others avoid. It is staying late to finish what others leave undone. It is prioritizing long-term growth over short-term comfort. Each habit, no matter how small, compounds over time, creating an unshakable foundation of capability and confidence. And when she inevitably faces moments of chaos, her disciplined practice becomes the scaffolding that allows her to stand tall, even when everything around her threatens to collapse. Mindset and discipline are inseparable allies. Mindset is the vision, the unwavering belief that she is capable. Discipline is the execution, the daily grind that makes that belief tangible. Alone, each is powerful. Together, they are unstoppable. A woman with no support relies on this dual force to navigate challenges that would overwhelm the unprepared. Every obstacle becomes a test of both clarity and endurance, of both focus and commitment. And every test she passes becomes proof, not to anyone else but to herself, of her limitless capacity to rise, to persist, and to conquer. There is also an element of mental toughness that comes from this practice. Mindset sharpens her perception of what is possible. Discipline reinforces her will to act. She learns to tolerate discomfort without complaint, to embrace uncertainty without fear, and to persist without guarantee. This is not natural to everyone. It is cultivated, it is chosen, and for the woman with no support, it is essential. Without it, the isolation becomes debilitating. With it, she transforms solitude into power, pressure into performance, and adversity into mastery. And here's the subtle truth. Discipline does not just teach her to manage time or accomplish tasks. It teaches her mastery over herself. Every time she resists distraction, doubt, or despair, she gains control over her mind and her choices. Every time she prioritizes growth over comfort, she strengthens her character and her resolve. Every time she commits to a habit, a ritual, or a discipline in the face of resistance, she signals to herself that she is not defined by circumstance, but by action. This internal mastery is more powerful than any external support she could ever receive. Ultimately, mindset and discipline are what separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. The woman with no support may be unseen, underestimated, and unheard, but she is not powerless, because through mindset she sees possibility where others see limitation. Through discipline, she moves steadily toward her goals when the rest of the world stands still. She becomes a force of her own creation, a self-sufficient engine of perseverance, and a living testament to what can be achieved when determination is paired with action. When the world does not cheer, she cheers for herself. When no one believes, she believes. When the path is unclear, she navigates it with clarity, intention, and resolve. Mindset gives her vision, discipline gives her momentum, and together they make the silent battles not just survivable, but victorious. In this, she discovers a freedom that no one can give her. A freedom born of inner control, of relentless consistency, and of the unshakable knowledge that she alone determines her destiny. Solitude can feel like a prison when the world refuses to stand beside you. It presses in on all sides, a quiet reminder that you are alone in your fight, that no one is coming to lift the weight from your shoulders, that your victories must be earned without applause. And yet it is in this solitude, this seemingly endless stretch of isolation, that the seeds of liberation are planted. For the woman who fights without support, solitude is not a punishment, it is a teacher. It is the arena in which she discovers her true power, her own voice, and the boundless potential that lies dormant within her. At first, solitude can feel unbearable. The silence echoes the fears, doubts, and insecurities that she has carried for years. It whispers that she is not enough, that she cannot endure, that perhaps she was never meant to rise. These are the moments when the world feels heaviest, when every burden seems amplified, when exhaustion tempts surrender. But here is the paradox. The very force that threatens to break her also has the power to forge her into something greater. It is in the absence of support, in the quiet of self-reliance, that she begins to recognize the truth. She is stronger than she has ever realized, and her life's direction depends entirely on her choices, not on anyone else's approval. Solitude strips away the distractions, the noise, and the external dependencies that often cloud judgment and hinder growth. Without the constant interference of others' expectations, she is free to examine herself, her goals, and her values. She begins to ask questions that no one else is around to answer. What do I truly want? Who do I truly want to become? What am I capable of achieving if I stop waiting for permission, validation, or support? These questions, difficult as they may be, are the compass that guides her toward liberation. In solitude, clarity emerges. In solitude, purpose crystallizes. Liberation comes not from escape, but from mastery. She learns to control her thoughts when despair threatens. She learns to direct her energy when distractions arise. She learns to manage her time, her commitments, and her inner state with precision. The skills she cultivates in solitude are not superficial, they are profound. They are the foundation of independence. They are the scaffolding of self-respect, confidence, and authenticity. By relying on herself, she becomes unshakable, untethered from the need for external validation, and fully capable of steering her life in any direction she chooses. There is also a quiet joy in this transformation, a liberation that is both exhilarating and humbling. When she realizes that she does not need anyone's approval to act, to succeed, to love, or to dream, she experiences a freedom few ever attain. Solitude no longer feels like a cage. It becomes a sanctuary, a place where she can experiment, grow, and evolve without interruption, a place where mistakes are lessons, challenges are opportunities, and victories are celebrated internally. In embracing her solitude, she learns to celebrate herself, to honor her journey, and to recognize the immense power she has cultivated in the absence of support. The transformation is also deeply empowering because it is self-proclaimed. She does not wait for recognition. She does not wait for applause. She does not wait for someone else to tell her that she is enough. She tells herself. She validates herself. She becomes both the architect and the inhabitant of her own liberation. And this self-authority is unstoppable. It cannot be undermined by judgment, fear, or external pressures. Once she has claimed her own power, no obstacle, no criticism, and no lack of support can hold her back. This liberation is not merely about personal survival, it is about claiming agency over her life in every sense. She learns to make decisions with confidence, to set boundaries without guilt, and to pursue her ambitions without hesitation. Every step she takes is a declaration: I am in charge, I am capable, I am free. And with every decision she makes independently, she reinforces the truth that no external support is necessary to achieve greatness. She becomes a living embodiment of self-sufficiency, courage, and resilience, proving that liberation is not granted. It is earned through unwavering persistence, self-discipline, and clarity of purpose. The ripple effect of this liberation is profound. Once she has mastered solitude, she no longer fears adversity. She does not shrink in the face of societal judgment or criticism. She does not rely on anyone else for emotional or practical support. She carries her own strength, her own guidance, and her own encouragement. She has learned to thrive in circumstances that would overwhelm most people. She has discovered that true freedom is not the absence of struggle, it is the mastery of oneself despite it. And perhaps the most transformative realization is this: liberation in solitude does not mean isolation from the world. It means liberation within it. She can connect, collaborate, and love freely because she no longer seeks others to complete her. She contributes not out of necessity but choice. She rises not because she needs to, but because she can. Her power becomes magnetic, her confidence contagious, and her presence undeniable. The woman who once fought alone now moves through life with authority, grace, and unshakable resilience. In the end, the silent battles she endured, the adversity she overcame, and the discipline she cultivated all converge into a singular truth. Liberation is born in solitude. Every trial, every lonely struggle, every obstacle she faced without support has prepared her for this moment. She is no longer defined by what she lacked. She is defined by what she discovered: her own limitless strength, her own boundless courage, and her own extraordinary capacity to rise. The woman who once fought in silence now stands free, unbound, and unstoppable, an embodiment of resilience, mastery, and triumph over every challenge that dared to hold her down. Look closely and you will see her, not in the spotlight, not in the headlines, not in the applause, but in the quiet moments when no one is watching. She is the woman who rises before the world stirs. She is the woman who fights battles unseen, who bears burdens unacknowledged, who walks forward when every instinct tells her to stop. She is every woman who has been told she cannot, that she should not, that she is not enough, and yet she persists. Her journey is not easy. Her path is not paved. She fights without a hand to hold, without a voice cheering her on, without a safety net beneath her. And yet, through every trial, every lonely struggle, every setback and doubt, she discovers the truth. No one can ever take away. Her strength is hers. Her courage is hers. Her power is hers. It does not depend on support, validation, or permission. It is born from within. To every woman who is fighting silently, know this: the world may not see you, but you are extraordinary. Your perseverance is shaping a life of purpose. Your resilience is carving a legacy of strength. And every choice you make to rise, to act, to persist, and to believe in yourself is a declaration to the world and to yourself that you are unstoppable. Solitude is not your prison, it is your training ground. Adversity is not your enemy, it is your forge. Judgment is not your limitation, it is your opportunity to rise above. And in this journey, you are not just surviving, you are becoming unstoppable, unshakable, and unbreakable. So rise, stand tall, claim your power, and remember this above all else: the silent battles you fight today are the victories that will define you tomorrow. You are stronger than any obstacle. You are more powerful than any doubt, and you are entirely capable of building a life of freedom, fulfillment, and unstoppable strength, because the true victory lies not in the support you receive, but in the courage you summon and the woman you become along the way.